Computer, studio lights on. Hello and welcome to my smart studio, or as some may call it, my spare bedroom. This is a place where I hope to be able to churn out YouTube videos in much quicker succession than in the past, when it would be like a year in between videos I put out. But what was important for me to do that is so that I could just come into a room and just take out as much friction as possible and try to make something of good quality. I'm a professional video production person, so I have kind of high standards for the look and the sound of what I'm putting together. So I'm trying to relax some of those while also just creating a space that's optimized for that. That's what a studio is. And here's the crown jewel of this studio. That's a projector. I can put whatever background I want behind me. Why don't you use a green screen? What inspired me was things like the new LED walls that are used for production that Disney uses for like The Mandalorian and stuff. It's important in that show because the lead character wears metallic reflective armor, and if they were shooting that on green screen, that would just look horrendous. So you can get those real lights and real reflections of the environment, and those LED walls like wrap all around. And while I can't afford something like that, this is something I can do. I can put whatever I want behind me, even a green screen. With this, it's just one button, evenly lit, boom. I mean, it's a little more than one button. I gotta move the lights around a little bit for like the green screen mode. But it doesn't get any simpler than this. So anyway, there's a bunch of little things that I'm going to share about the studio that I'm stoked about. And anything that I talk about that is available on Amazon, I'll have links down in the description. And one of the best parts about this is, if you don't know, I'm a very frugal person. I try to do things affordably. That projector, that was $120. So anyway, I'm gonna show you the different things that I've used, and maybe you'll get some value out of it when you're building your studio. I'll start here and go around the room. So I've got a floor heater there to save money in the cold season. A fake palm. This is a light stand with a quick release and one of these really cool adjustable heads on the top, so that I can quickly throw cameras like this on there and get B-roll shots somewhere around the room if I need to, or anywhere really. It's faster than a tripod because it's just one pole to adjust the height rather than three with a tripod. Next, we have a bunch of 2-inch thick foam. I bought a bunch of this for $47 on Facebook Marketplace. So I used carpet glue to attach it to a 2x4 thin panel, and then I nailed, using an air gun, nailed it to the wall. And then for the doors, I have one there, and on the closet door, I was able to use a thumbtack in each corner, and that holds it on quite well. It's a lot easier to attach to the door than the wall. And this is being held on by a ton of Gorilla tape. So that could fall at some point. Next, we have the weird looking desk. So this is a sit to stand automatic desk. So if I want to sit, I just press that button and it lowers the camera and everything. This is my fill light. What I think is so cool about this light is that a lot of these panels only will dim down to 10%. Well, this one goes down to 1%, but unfortunately there's a huge difference between 0 and 1. If you want it to be any more dim than this, you're gonna need to knock it down a bit. And it can also change color temperature. Pretty cool. And it can run on Sony batteries and as well as plug into the wall. So it's also really skinny, and despite being this thin, it's also very diffused. There is no individual LEDs that you can see on this panel, and that's typically what an LED panel is terrible about, is that each one of those LEDs is its own little source, which makes your lines for your shadows have a bunch of barely perceivable lines in it. It's because you have multiple sources, and with this, it's one nice soft light. That's remarkable for like 45 bucks or whatever this cost. And so I just turn it on just barely, and I shoot it up into the corner, and that gives me some nice fill light. The camera that I'm shooting with is the Sony A7C. It's their sort of compact full frame camera, which is relatively affordable for a full frame camera at like $1,800. This is a Feel World monitor. What's great about it is, not that I need it in here, but it gets extremely bright, so you can view it and use it outside, which you often can't do with monitors because they're not bright enough in direct sunlight. The thing that it's all attached to that you're probably curious about, I don't remember what this is called, but I think it was like $100. And it's not the sturdiest thing in the world. Like if I were to adjust something on the camera, as you can see, it takes a minute for it to stop, or I need to just stabilize it there and let go. I really enjoy it for the microphone, especially. Being able to move it to wherever I need it and also have it out of frame. I try to hide mics when I have the chance to, and so this is really nice for that. For my key light, my primary light, this is a Godox softbox that I think is like 38 inches by 9 inches or something, or 35 inches by 9 inches. Really nice softbox to get a nice soft source on your face. And underneath this softbox is the Aperture Amaron 60X. This is the professional light in the set. The shelf itself has wheels on it, so I can move it around if I want to get that light into a better position. This computer is where I queue up things to display on the background using the projector. So I've got an HDMI cable running out of that into here. And this desktop that it's sitting on, this is I think a 2x4 piece. I just cut these notches out and was able to pop it on there to have a workspace. I try to keep that clean as much as possible. Here to the good stuff. This back here is a screen that is made up of a light gray photo backdrop made out of paper. And it's held up by two C-stands. And you don't need two C-stands because you can just mount this piece directly to your ceiling or your wall. Back behind the screen is a window that's being blocked. That's part of the reason for the screen. Otherwise, I could have just used a wall if I just had a blank wall. But this works out pretty nicely. It makes a nice frame around me in the shot. This is a light that's meant to cast a shadow on the palm tree onto the wall. And it also does this really cool design across the ceiling. And if you're wondering how it does this banding, I mentioned earlier how on this light, it is a very soft source. There's not a bunch of different sources. Well, here's an example of what I'm talking about. In this LED light, you can see all the different individual LEDs separated. And that creates individual shadows. I have it closed off a lot so that only a few of them are peeking through, and it's making that sort of pattern. And I'm using it stylistically, but often it just degrades the look of what you're trying to do. Down here I have, this is a toy chest that I painted black, and I cut a big hole in it there for the projector, and I'm able to easily access it there. It's an Epson 536WI. Now, what's interesting about these projectors is that when I was searching for one, I knew I wanted one that would be quite bright because it was going to have to compete with the lights I was using to light me, the subject. And I found that these Epsons were very commonly used in schools, and these schools were updating them to more recent ones. I was able to find on Facebook Marketplace tons of projectors in the same sort of category that are quite bright. These are meant to be on during ambient light hours, like where there's windows in the room, and for students to be able to still see it. So the one downside I would say about these is that you do not get a 4K picture. You do not even get a full 1080p picture. You get something close-ish to 720, a bit over 720p, but that's actually okay because it's just a background for me, and with a full frame camera, it's going to be out of focus a bit anyway in the background, so it doesn't bother me too much. A projector powerful enough to be visible with all these lights on for $125 shipped. This is another sort of toy chest looking thing that I can use as either a step stool, or I will put it on top of there to sit on when I'm using the backdrop more fully. Over here is just if I need a table. Typically what happens with this is I end up putting my food on it after I'm done eating in here. If we look up, we have a ceiling light there, and I was originally thinking I'd put a ceiling fan in here, and I thought that might hang down a bit too low and get into the shot. And then I saw this thing for just like 30 bucks, and you can aim these in any direction, so I could control the spill to keep it off of the backdrop. In an earlier edition of this studio, I had a backlight set up like over here that was, you know, lighting the back of me for my backlight. And now I can eliminate a stand by this as my primary backlight, and it just shines right down on me, and that's super convenient. And because this is full of smart bulbs, I can make it any color, I can make it any brightness. Behind my screen here, I have a smart LED strip that goes the whole way behind it, and it sort of provides this frame around it. Computer edge light red. So that's the studio. I hope you dig it. If you want to look into any of the things that I talked about, I'll leave links in the description of this video, and I'll try to make that as coherent as possible. And if you dug these ideas, give it a like. If you had any comments or suggestions, I'd love to hear your comments. And if you want to subscribe, in this channel I try to make videos about optimizing things like travel and lifestyle, and in this case, video production. And if you do subscribe, I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.